On a distant planet, in a galaxy where aliens ruled most of the land, there lived a young alien woman named Kira. She was born into a life of hardship. Her family forced into slavery by the powerful and cruel aliens who governed their world. To them, she was just another piece of property, something that could be used and tossed away when no longer needed. Kira had grown up believing that she was worthless. Her life only meant to serve her masters. No one had ever told her differently. Every day was the same for Kira. She woke up early in the cold, it's a dark corner of the slave quarters, and worked long hours in the hot, dusty fields. The tasks were endless: cleaning, cooking, and carrying heavy loads for the alien masters who barely even looked at her. Most days, she was lucky if they remembered to feed her. She had no friends, no family, just the endless routine that weighed down on her spirit. Kira's skin was a pale shade of green, a sign of her alien heritage. Her eyes, a soft amber color, were often dull from exhaustion and the lack of hope. The others in the slave quarters were too beaten down to speak, too frightened to make a sound. It was as if their souls had been drained, leaving only bodies to carry out tasks with no reward. They were all just surviving, not living. She had heard stories of humans, but they seemed like legends, distant and foreign. They were said to be weak and small compared to the mighty alien warriors, but there were whispers that humans had a fierce spirit that could not be easily broken. Still, Kira did not believe these stories. To her, humans were nothing more than a distant curiosity, just another species she would never meet. One day, while she was working in the fields, carrying a heavy load of tools, a figure approached. It was a human, tall and strong, dressed in a dark uniform with a badge she didn't recognize. He moved with purpose, unlike the slavers who loomed over the slaves. Kira looked up, expecting him to pass by without a second glance, just as everyone else did. But this man, this human, did not ignore her. He stopped in front of her, his brown eyes meeting hers. For a moment, Kira thought he was going to order her to keep working like everyone else did. But he didn't. Instead, he looked at her with curiosity, almost as if he was trying to see her for who she was, not just a slave. "What's your name?" he asked, his voice calm, yet filled with a strange kindness. Kira blinked, confused. No one had asked her that in years. "Kira," she answered quietly, unsure if she should say anything at all. "Good to meet you, Kira," the man said with a small smile. "I'm Jack. I'm here on a mission, and I need someone to guide me around. Are you up for it?" Kira stared at him, confused and unsure. She had no idea what this man wanted, and part of her was terrified that he might be another cruel master. But there was something different about him, something that made her feel as though she mattered, even if just for a moment. "I'm just a slave," Kira said quietly. "I don't have anything to offer." Jack shook his head. "Everyone has something to offer, Kira. You just need to believe it. I'm not here to make you work for me. I want to see you free. I want to help you get there." Kira's heart raced. Could this be real? Could a human actually care? The thought seemed impossible, but something about Jack's words felt sincere. There was no hidden agenda behind his kindness, no demand for anything in return, just a genuine desire to help. Free. Kira repeated the word softly, tasting it on her tongue. It sounded so foreign, so unreachable. But Jack's steady gaze held a glimmer of hope, and for the first time in a long while, Kira wondered if freedom could be possible. Jack smiled again, this time with more confidence. "Yes, free, but it's going to take work. And I'm going to teach you how to fight for it." Kira was taken aback. Fight? She had never thought about fighting for anything in her life. She'd only ever known submission and obedience. But the more she looked into Jack's eyes, the more she felt a spark deep inside her. A spark she hadn't known existed until now. "Fight for freedom?" Kira asked, her voice uncertain. Jack nodded. "Yes, but not just with your fists." going to teach you how to fight for your mind, your body, and your spirit. You can be more than just a slave, Kira. You can be strong. You just have to believe in yourself." Kira wasn't sure what to say. She had lived her life believing that she was worth less than nothing. Her value had always been determined by others. But now, a human, someone from another world, was telling her that she could be more. It was hard to believe, but as she looked at Jack, something inside her stirred. Maybe, just maybe, there was a chance for her. A chance to fight for her freedom, and for a life where she wasn't bound by chains. "I'll try," Kira said finally, her voice small but full of determination. Jack's eyes sparkled with approval. "That's all I ask." And so, with that simple exchange, Kira's life began to change. She didn't know it yet, but she was about to learn more than just how to fight. She was about to learn how to dream. Kira's life had always been about survival. Every day, she woke up early to work without rest, with no one to help her. The idea of freedom was something distant, like a dream that could never come true. But now, after meeting Jack, something was different. For the first time, she wasn't being ordered around or treated like a piece of property. She was seen as a person, someone with worth. The days after their meeting felt strange. Jack's offer to help her seemed too good to be true, Kira wondered. If it was just a temporary kindness, something that would fade away like everything else in her life. But the more she saw Jack, the more she realized that he wasn't like the others. He didn't see her as just a slave. He saw her as someone who had potential, even though she had no idea what that potential was. Jack visited her every day after his duties were finished. He was patient, speaking to her kindly and asking about her life. At first, Kira felt unsure about opening up to him. It was hard to trust anyone, especially a human who was from a different world. But something about Jack made her feel safe. He didn't pressure her, and he didn't expect anything in return. All he wanted was to help her find her strength. "Tell me about your life, Kira," Jack said one evening, as they sat by the small fire where she used to cook meals for the other slaves. His voice was calm, and his eyes, though tired from a long day, were full of interest. Kira hesitated. Never told anyone her story before. She had never felt like her life mattered enough to share. But Jack's presence was different. He wasn't judging her, and there was no expectation in his gaze. "I was born here," she started slowly. "My parents were slaves too. We've always been here, in this place. I don't remember a time when things were different. Never been free. I've never known what it's like to live without someone telling me what to do." Jack nodded, understanding her words. "That sounds hard," he said quietly. "But that's not all you are. You're not just a slave, you're more than that. You have a future, Kira. I believe in you." His words, simple as they were, sparked something inside her. She had never thought of herself as anything more than what she had been told to be: a servant, a slave. The idea that she could have a future, a life of her own choosing, was foreign to her. She had never considered the possibility. Jack smiled, sensing her hesitation. "I want to help you change that. I'm not going to make you fight or do anything you're not ready for, but I want you to see that you're capable of more than just surviving. You can live, Kira. You can thrive." Hey. Kira looked down at her hands. They were calloused from years of hard work, from carrying heavy loads, from cleaning and cooking. They were the hands of a slave, not a warrior. "I don't know how," she admitted. "I don't know how to live any other way." Jack's. The voice was steady. "You don't have to know everything right now. All you need to do is start. I'm here to teach you, Kira. I'll show you how to stand up for yourself, how to fight for your life." The idea of fighting was terrifying to Kira. She had never fought anyone before. Her life had always been about avoiding punishment, about doing what she was told. Now something inside her stirred as she looked at Jack. His words made sense. And for the first time, she wanted to believe that there was more to her than just a life of servitude. "You really think I can do it?" she asked quietly, her voice uncertain but full of hope. "I know you can," Jack said, with a firm confidence that gave her strength. "We'll take it one step at a time. But first, I need you to promise me something." "What?" Kira asked. Her curiosity piqued. "Promise me that you'll try. Promise me that you'll let me teach you, no matter how hard it gets." Kira thought for a moment. She wasn't sure if she could make such a promise. But Jack's steady gaze and his quiet belief in her made her feel like it was worth trying. "I promise," she said softly. Jack smiled. "Good, that's all I need to hear." From that day on, Kira's life began to change. Jack didn't make her fight right away. Instead, they started with small steps. He taught her how to stand tall, how to carry herself with confidence. Showed her how to walk like someone who belonged in the world, not like someone who had been crushed by it. It wasn't easy. Kira struggled with every lesson. She was used to hiding her fear, used to blending into the background. But Jack pushed her, encouraging her when she faltered, lifting her up when she stumbled. "You're stronger than you think," he would remind her. Time and time again. As the days passed, Kira began to feel something inside her grow. It was small at first, a tiny flicker of hope, but it was there. She began to believe that maybe, just maybe, she wasn't worthless. Maybe she wasn't just meant to serve and disappear. Maybe she had a place in this world, one that didn't involve chains. Jack's training wasn't just about strength. He taught her to think differently, to see beyond the walls that had surrounded her for so long. He showed her how to dream. And for the first time in her life, Kira began to dream of something more, something beyond the life of a slave. She didn't know what the future held, but with Jack by her side, she felt like she could finally take the first steps toward a life that was truly her own. Kira's life had started to change in ways she never imagined. Every day, Jack spent time with her, teaching her things she never thought she would learn. At first, it was difficult for Kira to believe that she could actually change, but each day she felt a little stronger. With Jack's help, she started to feel like she wasn't just a slave anymore. She was beginning to see herself as someone who could fight for her future. The first lesson was simple: how to stand. Jack explained that the way she held herself said a lot about who she was. For years, Kira had hunched her shoulders and looked down at the ground, afraid to make eye contact with anyone. She had been taught that it was safer that way. But Jack insisted that she'll stand tall, shoulders back, and chin up. "People will see your confidence," he said. "They'll know that you're not someone to mess with. But first, you need to believe it yourself." It felt strange at first. Kira wasn't used to standing proud. She had spent so long trying to hide, to be invisible, that standing tall felt like a challenge. But she trusted Jack. Slowly, she began to practice, looking at herself in the small reflection of a broken mirror that hung in the corner of the slave quarters. She could see a different version of herself, one she had never seen before. She looked stronger, more confident, even if she didn't feel that way yet. The next lesson was about fighting. Kira had always believed that fighting was something only powerful beings could do. She had seen the warriors of the alien factions, huge and strong, and had thought that she could never be like them. But Jack didn't see strength the way she did. He explained that strength wasn't just about size. It was about technique, timing, and knowing when to move. They started with basic movements, punching and kicking the air. At first, Kira's limbs felt heavy, clumsy, and awkward. She stumbled a lot, and each time she missed a punch, she felt like giving up. But Jack didn't let her quit. "You have to push through the awkwardness," he would say. "The first steps are always the hardest. But the more you practice, the easier it gets." Kira didn't want to disappoint him, so she kept going. She wasn't fast, and her punches lacked power, but Jack didn't mind, was patient, always reminding her that improvement took time. Each day, her movements became a little more fluid, a little more controlled. She started to feel the power in her body, the strength that was slowly building inside her. Jack also taught her how to think during a fight. "It's not just about physical strength," he explained. "It's about knowing your opponent and staying calm. A calm mind wins the battle. When you panic, you lose control." Kira took this lesson to heart. She had spent so much of her life reacting to things out of fear, but now Jack was showing her how to act out of strength and awareness. She began to understand that fighting wasn't just about violence. It was about making choices, about controlling the situation rather than letting it control her, But it wasn't all about physical training. Jack also encouraged Kira to focus on her mind. He would often take her aside and ask her questions about her dreams, her goals, her ideas about freedom. These conversations were difficult for Kira at first because she had never allowed herself to think about such things. Her dreams had always seemed impossible, so she had buried them deep inside her. But Jack wouldn't let her forget them. "What do you want, Kira?" he asked one evening as they sat by the fire, resting after a long day of training. Kira looked at the ground, unsure how to answer. She had never been asked that before. She had always been told what to do, where to go, and who to serve. Now, for the first time, she was asked to think about what she wanted. Slowly, her mind started to race. "I want to be free," Kira said quietly. "I want to live a life where I don't have to follow orders all the time. I want to make my own choices." Jack nodded, his eyes full of understanding. "That's a good start, but what do you want after that? What does freedom look like to you?" Kira thought for a long time. She had never imagined that she could have a future of her own. But now, with Jack's encouragement, she started to think of possibilities. "I want to help others," she said after a long pause. "I want to be strong enough to protect others who are like me, people who are stuck, who think they have no way out." Jack smiled, proud of her. "You're on the right path. Strength doesn't just come from fighting, Kira. It comes from your heart, your will to change the world around you." That night, Kira lay in bed, unable to sleep. Jack's words echoed in her mind. She had never thought of herself as someone who could help others, let alone fight for them. But now, as she thought about her dreams, she felt something she had never felt before: hope. For the first time in her life, she believed that she could be more than what she had been told. She could be strong, not just for herself, but for others. The next morning, Jack began to teach Kira how to defend herself. He showed her how to block an attack and how to use her opponent's strength against them. She was surprised at how quickly she picked it up. Her body seemed to remember things she didn't know she had learned. Every time she blocked a punch or avoided a kick, she felt a sense of accomplishment. "See?" Jack said, smiling. "You're getting better already." Kira smiled back, but it was a small smile. She wasn't done yet. She still had so much to learn, and there were moments when she felt doubt creeping in. But for the first time, she was determined to push through it. She had Jack's support, and now she was beginning to believe in herself. As the days went on, her body grew stronger, and so did her mind. She began to see that she wasn't just learning how to fight. She was learning how to fight for her future. And with every lesson, she was one step closer to the life she had always dreamed of. The weeks passed quickly, and with each day, Kira's body grew stronger. She became faster, more confident, and her punches landed with more force. Yet, as her physical strength grew, so did the doubts inside her. She had never been someone who believed she could truly be free, let alone strong enough to fight for herself. Even now, when she felt a new strength growing within her, Kira couldn't help but wonder if it was all an illusion. There were mornings when she would wake up, feeling the weight of her past bearing down on her, and wonder if she was still just a slave at heart. How could she, someone who had been told her whole life that she was worth nothing, ever believe that she was worth something more? Jack saw the doubt in her eyes. He had been training her for weeks now, pushing her to grow. And he knew that physical strength wasn't the only battle Kira had to fight. There was still the war inside her mind, the fear that no matter how hard she tried, she would never be more than what she had been. One evening, after a long day of training, Jack sat beside Kira, who was staring out at the stars. They had spent hours working on hand-to-hand combat, and although Kira's movements had improved, there was something in her that still held back. "You're quiet tonight," Jack said gently. "What's on your mind?" Kira didn't answer at first. She stared into the dark sky, her mind filled with thoughts that she didn't want to share. But Jack was patient. He waited, giving her the time she needed. Finally, Kira spoke, her voice barely above a whisper. "I don't know if I can do this," she admitted. "I don't know if I can ever be more than what I've always been. You've taught me so much, Jack. but there's a part of me that still believes I'm just a slave, that I'm not meant to be anything more. Jack listened carefully. Understood her fears. I know it's hard, Kira, he said softly, but strength isn't about being perfect. It's about how you rise when you fall. You've been knocked down your whole life, but you're still here. You're still fighting. Kira shook her head. I'm not sure I can keep fighting. What if I'm just fooling myself? What if I'm not strong enough, no matter how hard? I try. Jack reached over and gently placed a hand on her shoulder. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to keep going. The only way to know your true strength is to test it. You can't test it by running away from it. Gotta face it head on. Kira was silent for a moment, looking at the ground beneath her. The weight of her past felt heavy on her heart. She had spent so many years living in fear, believing she was nothing, that it was hard to imagine a future where she was anything else. I don't know if I'm ready, she said quietly. Jack's voice was calm but firm. You don't have to be ready, you just have to start. One step at a time. For a long time, Kira didn't say anything. She closed her eyes, thinking about what Jack had said. The doubts that had been buried deep inside her for so long were rising to the surface. It was easier to stay where she was safe, hidden, invisible, but something inside her was beginning to stir. It was that spark of hope, the same one that had started to grow when Jack first believed in her. She stood up slowly, her body feeling both heavy and light at the same time. Okay, she said, her voice shaky but determined. I'll keep going, but it's not going to be easy. Smiled. Nothing worth having ever is. But you're stronger than you know. The next day, Jack set up a new challenge for her. He had arranged for a sparring match with another fighter, a trained warrior from one of the nearby factions. The warrior was much stronger than Kira, but Jack wanted to see how far she had come. It wasn't about winning, it was about testing her strength and pushing her limits. When Kira saw her opponent, she felt a wave of fear wash over her. The warrior was tall and muscular, his eyes cold and focused. He cracked his knuckles and gave her a taunting smile, as if he knew she didn't stand a chance. You're going to regret this, the warrior said with a sneer. Kira's heart raced, but she remembered Jack's words. Perfect. It was about testing her strength. She wasn't going to run away from this fight, no matter how much she feared it. Jack stood off to the side, watching closely. He could see the nervousness in Kira's eyes, but he also saw the determination. She wasn't backing down. And that was the first step. The fight started, and immediately Kira was on the defensive. The warrior's punches were fast and strong, each one coming at her with a force she could barely block. But as the fight went on, Kira began to find her rhythm. She moved quickly, remembering the techniques Jack had taught her. She blocked a punch, then dodged another. Each time she avoided an attack, her confidence grew a little more. But then the warrior caught her off guard. He landed a strong blow to her side, knocking the wind out of her. Kira fell to the ground, gasping for air. It hurt so much, and the doubts in her mind screamed at her to quit. But then she remembered Jack's voice. In her head, you have to rise when you fall. With a deep breath, Kira pushed herself up. Her body ached, but she wasn't going to let this be the end. She wasn't going to stop now. The fight continued, and though Kira wasn't as strong as her opponent, she was smarter. She used the warrior's movements against him, sidestepping his attacks and finding openings. With every move, she felt a little more in control. In the end, Kira didn't win the fight, but she didn't lose either. The warrior, frustrated by her persistence, finally stepped back and conceded. Impressed by her ability to keep going, even when it seemed impossible, Jack walked over to her, a proud smile on his face. You did great. Kira wiped the sweat from her brow, her body exhausted but alive. I didn't win. Jack nodded. You didn't have to. The real victory is that you kept going, even when you were hurt. That's the kind of strength that will take you far. Kira smiled, feeling something new inside her pride. She had faced her fear, and she hadn't backed down. For the first time, she felt like she was more than a slave. She was a fighter and her journey was just beginning. Kira had come a long way since the first time she stood before Jack, unsure of herself, unsure of everything. The training had been hard, and there had been times when she wanted to give up. But each day, Jack had pushed her, not just physically, but mentally. He had taught her that strength was not just about fighting with your body, it was about fighting with your mind, your will to keep going when things seemed impossible. Now, after weeks of training, Jack was ready to give Kira the final test. It was time to see if she could put everything she had learned into action. The test wasn't just about physical strength. It was about using everything she had learned to survive, to outsmart and to stand strong no matter what. The test was simple in theory, but difficult in practice. Kira was going to face another fighter, this time a seasoned warrior from the alien factions, a warrior who had fought in countless battles and was known for his brutal fighting style. Jack knew this would be a tough challenge for Kira, but he also knew she was ready. The day of the test arrived, and Kira stood in the training ring, her heart racing in her chest. She had trained for this moment, but the reality of it was different. Her opponent stood across from her, tall and menacing, his dark eyes cold and calculating. He cracked his knuckles and gave her a smug smile as if he knew she didn't stand a chance. Kira's hands clenched into fists, and she took a deep breath. She was nervous, but she wasn't going to back down. Jack had taught her to control her fear, to use it to her advantage. She couldn't let the fear control her now. "You're just a slave," the warrior sneered. "You don't belong here." Kira's jaw tightened, but she didn't respond. She knew this wasn't about words. It was about actions. She was about to show him exactly who she was. The match began with a sharp whistle from the trainer. The warrior charged at Kira with surprising speed, aiming a powerful punch at her face. Kira instinctively stepped back, remembering Jack's teachings about timing. She didn't try to block the punch with force. Instead, she sidestepped it. Using the warrior's momentum against him, he stumbled forward, off balance, and Kira quickly seized the opportunity. Her first strike was awkward. Not as smooth as she had hoped, but it landed. She managed to land a quick blow to his side. Warrior grunted, clearly surprised by her speed. Kira's heart raced. She hadn't expected to land a hit at all, but now that she had, she felt a small sense of accomplishment. She wasn't weak. She wasn't worthless. She was a fighter. But the warrior recovered quickly. He turned to face her, his eyes narrowed. He wasn't going to underestimate her again. He lunged at her, faster than before, throwing a series of rapid punches. Kira felt a surge of panic, but she remembered Jack's words. "Stay calm. Keep your mind clear." She couldn't let the pressure make her mess up. She had to focus. Kira blocked one punch, then another. But the third one hit her square in the chest, knocking the wind out of her. She stumbled backward, her body aching from the impact. For a moment, she felt like collapsing. The doubts from before began to creep back into her mind. Was she really ready for this? Could she win? But then she remembered Jack. He had taught her that real strength wasn't about winning every battle. It was about not giving up. It was about rising after every fall. She took a deep breath and shook off the pain. She wasn't done yet. She could still fight. The warrior charged again, but this time, Kira was ready. She ducked under his punch and spun around, using his own movement to throw him off balance. She grabbed his arm and twisted it, using everything Jack had taught her about leverage. The warrior struggled, but Kira held firm, refusing to let go. Her muscles burned and her body screamed for rest, but she kept pushing. She wasn't going to quit now. With a final push, Kira managed to throw the warrior to the ground. She stood over him, breathing heavily, sweat dripping down her face. The warrior lay on the ground, stunned and panting. He had underestimated her, and now he was paying the price. Kira's heart pounded in her chest, but she didn't feel fear anymore. She felt power. She felt pride. The trainer blew the whistle, signaling the end of the match. Kira stepped back, her body aching, but her mind clear. She had done it. She had faced a stronger opponent, someone who had been trained for battle his entire life. And she had won. Jack walked over to her, a proud smile on his face. "You did great," he said, clapping her on the shoulder. Kira looked down at her hands, still trembling from the fight. I can't believe I did it. You believed in yourself, Jack said. That's what matters. You didn't give up, even when it was tough. It's the kind of strength that'll take you far. Kira smiled, her heart swelling with pride. She had finally proven to herself that she wasn't weak. She wasn't a slave. She was someone who could fight for her freedom and win, as the trainer helped the defeated warrior to his feet. Kira stood tall, knowing that this was only the beginning. She had learned to fight, but she had also learned to dream. Her future was hers to shape, and she was ready to take the next step. Thank you, Jack, she said quietly, her voice filled with gratitude. Jack smiled warmly. You did it, Kira. This is just the start of your journey. Kira nodded, feeling a sense of determination grow inside her. She had fought for her freedom, and now she was going to fight for something even bigger, her future. Kira's heart raced as she walked away from the training ring. Her body ached from the battle, but her mind was clearer than it had ever been. For the first time in her life, she felt like she had truly accomplished something real, something that belonged to her. She had fought and won it. The warrior had underestimated her, just as many had before, but she had proven them wrong. She was no longer just a slave. She was a fighter. Jack stood at the edge of the ring, his arms crossed, watching her with a proud smile. Yeah, Kira, you proved to everyone, especially yourself, that you're capable of more than you ever imagined. Kira wiped the sweat from her brow, her hands still trembling from the fight. Her body was sore, but she didn't care. I can't believe I actually won, she said, her voice filled with awe. You didn't just win the fight, Jack replied. You won your freedom. You've shown yourself what you're capable of, and that's something no one can take away from you. Kira looked down at her hands, still stained with the marks of battle. These hands, once used for cleaning and serving, had now become the hands of someone who could stand up for herself. She had been afraid to use her strength before, afraid to even believe that she had any. But now, she knew the truth. She had the power to fight, to protect herself, and to protect others. But it wasn't just about the fight. It was about the person she had become. When she first met Jack, she had been a broken, defeated soul, living day by day, doing whatever she was told. But now, after everything she had learned and every challenge she had faced, Kira felt like she was in control of her life. Shape her future. She could dream again. Jack stepped forward, his expression serious but filled with encouragement. You've come a long way, Kira, but this is just the beginning. The world outside the training ring is bigger, and there are still many battles to face. But I believe you're ready for them. Kira looked up at him, a mix of uncertainty and determination in her eyes. What's next? What do I do now? You have a choice, Jack said, his voice steady. You've learned to fight for yourself, and now you have the power to decide what you want to do with your life. You could stay here, live a quiet life, and never have to fight again. But I know you, Kira. You're not someone who can just sit back and wait for things to happen. You're a fighter, and there are people out there who need someone like you. Kira thought about Jack's words. She had been so focused on survival for so long that she had never considered what she truly wanted from life. But now, as she stood there, feeling the weight of everything she had learned, she knew what she wanted. She wanted to help others. She wanted to show them that they didn't have to accept their fate, that they had the power to change their lives just as she had. I want to help people, she said, her voice filled with conviction. I want to teach others that they don't have to be slaves to their circumstances. I want to help them fight for their freedom, just like I've fought for mine. Jack smiled, his eyes warm with pride. I knew you would say that. You're not just a fighter, Kira. You're a leader. The world needs more people like you. Kira felt a surge of pride in her chest. For the first time in her life, she felt like she had a purpose, something that was worth fighting for. She wasn't just a slave anymore. She was someone who could make a difference. Over the next few weeks, Kira continued to train with Jack. But now, her training wasn't just for herself. She began to teach others, showing them the same techniques Jack had taught her. Slowly but surely, she built a group of fighters, people who had once believed they were powerless. They were learning to stand tall, to fight back, and to reclaim Their lives' word began to spread about the woman who had been a slave and had become a powerful fighter. People from all over the region came to seek her help, asking for training, asking for guidance. And with each person she helped, Kira's belief in herself grew even stronger. But Kira knew that the journey wasn't over. There were still many people out there who needed her, who needed someone to show them that they didn't have to accept a life of suffering. And Kira was ready to do whatever it took to help them. One day, as she was training a group of new recruits, Jack approached her with a serious look on his face. "I think it's time," he said. "Time for you to go beyond these walls and take the fight to those who need it most." Kira looked at him, a mixture of excitement and nervousness in her eyes. "You mean, leave here? Go somewhere else?" Jack nodded. "Yes, you've done all you can here. It's time for you to spread your message, to show the galaxy what you're capable of. There are people out there who need you, Kira. They need someone who can show them that they can be more than what they've been told they are." Kira took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the decision. She had come so far, and now she had the chance to do something bigger than herself. She wasn't just going to fight for her freedom anymore. She was going to fight for the freedom of everyone who had been told they were worthless. "I'm ready," she said, her voice full of determination. Jack smiled, proud of her. "I knew you would be." Kira looked around at the people she had trained, the people she had helped. She had made a difference in their lives, and now she was ready to make a difference in the galaxy. She wasn't just a slave anymore. No, she was a fighter, a leader, and a symbol of hope. As she walked out into the world, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead, Kira knew one thing for sure. She was no longer bound by her past. She was free, and the future was hers to shape.